Hello everybody and welcome to another edition of XCW Freetime interview. I have a very unique perspective for this guest. A guest that has had multiple jobs within XCW, managing such superstars as Deacon Storm, being involved in storylines with guys like DJ Wolbert, having the opportunity to be a champion here in XCW as the United States champion, being able to have matches with Brady Branson, myself, Jackson Law, El Loco Rojo, multiple different people on XCW's rosters through the year. Ring announce, you've done a little bit of everything in XCW. I have Trinity Parker joining me on the show today. And I think that this is going to be a really fun episode because you're going to have answers from all of your perspectives. So I think that that's going to add a lot to what we're doing here today. Of course, you're answering these questions completely, from your personal opinions. And not, of course, character based. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Let's get right into it, though.
All right.
All right. Who is your favorite XCW superstar to watch through the years?
Through the years, I would have to say it's kind of a three-way tie right now.
Okay.
Miano Diaz, he keeps getting better and better.
Yeah.
Hunter Halkin, that boy puts on one hell of a clinic.
That he does.
And when you pair him with the right people, like him and Brogan, tore shit up.
I agree.
At SummerMania.
Mm-hmm.
And the person who I would consider like the urban renaissance man of the locker room, Jay Ellis. He can wrestle. He's charismatic. He comes out to his own theme song. He does submission work. He's actually got a really, really good coquina clutch that I would not want to be on the end of. And he's also got high flying. Like, that is like the perfect balance.
So you've had the opportunity, like I said, to be out there at ringside alongside Deacon, alongside Blackheart and Short Points, and then you've also had the opportunity to wrestle, ACT, myself, Brady Branson, a number of guys on the XCW roster, and outside of the XCW roster. Who is your favorite superstar that you've ever got to work with?
I know this is going to sound like almost like buttering up or anything like that, but I actually liked wrestling with you. Our match was a dark match, and it was kind of like the road to my ring retirement. And after I did that first match with Brady, and then finding out that you were next, and I'm just like, okay. And everyone's like, that's not very often that Fletch does that. So consider that a treat. And you were really patient with me, and you catered to my strong points, and the chop off that we did, that was not planned. I was feeling really froggy that day, and I'm just like, you know what? I want to get into a chop off with Fletch and see where it goes from there.
So of course you've been a part of XCW for a number of years, and you did come out to some of the tri brands, I believe, right?
Yes.
So through all the years, what's the best XCW show that you've been able to be a part of and witness?
I would say my first SummerMania.
Okay.
It was my introductory show, and I got to see how things were run on like a grand scale. Like, I went to maybe 2 of the tri-brand shows, and they weren't bad, but
they don't have the full XCW production.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how'd you get your start in XCW?
There was kind of a mass exodus of people from XAWA due to some controversy that went on behind the scenes. And like, at the time that I came to XCW, I was dating Blackheart. And I wanted to be a part of it, but I didn't want to wrestle. And I think at the time you were looking for a ring announcer, so I just took that on.
How'd you get your start in wrestling prior to XCW? I'm just curious.
A couple of years ago, when Blackheart used to host a podcast called The Mental Cast, that's kind of how I met him. I used to listen, and then after a while, we just kind of started bonding. Had me on as a guest, talked about wrestling, and he said, well, I do like a wrestling show out like in New Paris. And I'm like, what's the address? Maybe I'll come and visit sometime. And he's like, it's this place, but like you don't have to come. I came. And there was a lot of people surprised because like, who's this? And he's just like, oh wow, she really came. And it just kind of went off from there.
So earlier we talked about, the Summer Mania, and I believe that was that 2020?
Yes.
That being one of your favorite shows that you've been a part of. Is there a worst show that you've been a part of that you just was like, oh my god, I can't wait for this one to be over?
Yeah, actually. It was the show right after my return. Not the show that I came back on, but the show immediately after. Basically, I was on camera showing to have a dislocated shoulder, and I had a loaded glove that I was going to pop ACT with. Never got a chance to do it, and ended up popping Blackheart in the face. I gave myself a boxer's fracture because of that. And basically, it was just like $3 worth of quarters wrapped up in leather tape, shoved underneath. I thought I had my hand protected and secured enough, and I didn't. And I ended up fracturing, I think, these two bits right here. And my hand has not been right ever since.
So obviously, being a part of that storyline was a huge moment for you and your career here. What, in your opinion, has been your biggest moment in XCW?
I would say being the first woman in history to get a title shot and winning. It took me 5 days to realize I was a United States champion. And I went through a lot at the time. And just waiting for that match, I knew I was going to get the piss beaten out of me. I knew it. And Deacon was just like, do you know how the match is going to finish? And I'm like, no one told me anything. He's like, oh, well, you're going over and you're going to beat up Brady and you're going to pin me and you're going to be the first woman to ever have a title. I was speechless for about 5 minutes. I was just like,
What in your opinion has been the turning point in your wrestling career? Obviously, you had a career that expanded even outside of XCW. What was the kind of aha moment, the moment that happened? You're like, okay, from this day forward, like I'm here, like I am fully, a wrestling superstar now.
I think it was when I turned on Blackheart at Extreme King in 2021. Like, I just come off of beating ACT, and it was a pretty bad time for me, and to be able to just kind of like take some of that aggression out on Blackheart, and him knowing that that smoke was coming. It's like, okay, this is real now. Like this shit's gonna happen, and it happened.
So obviously you talked about that fracture. Was that the worst injury you sustained, or is there another time?
I would say that was the main one, but the runner-up was a chop that I took from Jackson Law. It left a chicken wing sized bruise on my breast that did not heal for like 2 weeks. So it was pretty bad.
What's the worst injury you've witnessed?
It was 2022 Summer Mania when Blackheart was in a match with Brogan.
Mm-hmm.
And Brogan was setting up for his
Leprechaun drop.
And I don't know if Blackheart's back was like too sweaty or if he just didn't get enough jump, but when I seen Brogan's face hit the mat, like I heard the smack and it literally freaked me out. Like I thought, oh, he's dead.
Obviously, we know that you took a short hiatus, dealing with a lot of the things that you've talked about already. But has there ever been a time where you just 100% wanted to walk away from wrestling and quit?
Yeah. I hate to say it, but this past year there have been a lot of times when I wanted to walk away, and like I just, not a lot of the guys on the roster were being like considerate or supporting. And then, of course, you know, I've got, like, personal beef with 2 of the guys on the roster. And it's like, I'm really starting to think that I don't feel welcome here anymore. And I've had some people just kind of, like, talk to me. And
then you get thrown out, oh, hey, you're going to host encounters, you're hosting recalls. Like,
yeah.
And then you get all this good shit thrown at you. So, a lot, you've obviously you got the opportunity in your career to work multiple characters, you know, Trinity Parker character, the Mint Dragon character. What, in your opinion, is the worst gimmick you've witnessed?
As much as I hate to say this, because I do like Jaden Tucker, I don't like the demise. It does not fit him. He's got that working class hero vibe, and it's like, now he's just a plus size DJ Wolbert, which I hate to say that. That sounds so rude. But
it was either that or make him the new age Eugene, and I just thought that I was going with the right direction. But
jeez.
Well, on the flip side of that, the best gimmick you've seen.
The best gimmick that I've seen, and mind you, I know, like he kind of had like his falling outs with XCW. Is I really liked Desmond Cross's hacktivist character. It reminded me so much of the game Watch Dogs, where you play a hacker who's like athletic and he does parkour and he uses his phone and is able to like help people or hurt people, depends on how you play the game. I loved it. I loved that mysterious nature to him.
So obviously you've had the opportunity to go out there, and I'm going to ask this as a 2-part question.
Okay.
How do you prepare for a match, part 1, and then how do you prepare for your duties as a ring announcer as well? So 2 parts there. How do you prepare for a match, or how do you prepare for the day ahead on your ring announce duties?
Well, when I was wrestling, I try to stretch, and I also try to listen to some music depending upon my vibe. If I'm going into like the match as a face, I'll try to listen to like just some random rock music. But as a heel, I have a particular classical music playlist that I listen to.
And on the flip side of that, ring announcing?
Ring announcing, I just try to get a picture of all of the matches that are happening so I can make my notes. And now in recent months, I try to limit talking to people and just kind of like stick to the help. That's the best way that I could describe it, is, you know, Blackheart, JJ, Festus. I'll say hi to some of the guys if they'll say hi, because I'm cool with
kind of go right to the point and talk to, you know, the Bradys and the JJs and the Blackhearts of the world that know everything that's going on in and out of the stories. Did you have any pre-match rituals, anything that, you know, pre-game you for, you know, what you were going to be doing that day?
Well, when I know I didn't have much of it in XAWA because I just went into it blind. But during that whole feud with Blackheart and ACT, I would just sulk in the corner and just listen to classical music. And that's all I would do.
Obviously, I think we already know the answer to this, so this one's going to be a quick one. Who's giving you your worst chop? Jackson, I assume?
Yeah. like Brady's, the one chop, I just sold it as like he was a one chop man, but Jackson's, like, it felt like a hate crime.
In your opinion, who has the best finishing move in XCW?
I gotta say the Selena Dussel. Like that, it feels like a one-hit kill.
What pro wrestler influenced you the most to be a part of wrestling?
It's changed over the years, but it's kind of a mix of Trish Stratus and Pentagon Jr. And back when I started doing wrestling, I was told that I should try to emulate Trish Stratus more in moves. But when it comes to like Pentagon Jr., it's like he's so balanced. And he's got that swagger, that demeanor of like, just scary.
Yeah.
But it's like he's a face, but he can also pull off the, I'm going to fuck you up really bad.
Concept matches, ladder matches, cage matches, table matches, anything out there. What's your favorite concept match that you've got to see?
Winds of Chains. That first one. Oof.
One of my brainchilds, huh? What is the hardest weapon shot that you've ever received, if you've taken any over the years? Have you?
Yes.
Okay.
Brady. During our triple threat match, it was the barbed wire wrapped crutches. It wasn't the barbed wire that hurt. It was the crutch.
There's the swing.
It left, like, I think I rewatched it. It was the crutch or the street sign. Like, when I rolled out of the ring, I made some involuntary noises. Like, I literally was like, oh, like, just the worst sound in the world. That sounded like I was dying. And a few days later, I took a picture of my back, and I had like this nice little bruise of like the lines of the crutch, and I sent it to Brady. I'm like, you did this to me.
Who, in your opinion, has been the fastest rising star in XCW?
Hunter. He's getting better and better, and with his kind of like his new gimmick, I see nothing but good things for that boy.
So, obviously, Hunter Halkin is a name that I had to sit down and brainstorm. There's been other names throughout the years that we've had to do. Miana Diaz, Desmond Cross, Jason Arcane. We really had to put a lot of effort and thinking into characters and names. Who has the best name, in your opinion, in XW? Best ring name?
I would say best ring name is Eric Mason. Because it's
actually dedicated to his father, whose real name was Eric, that passed away a few years ago. So it just sounds like a good country boy name, because he gives off that vibe like perfectly. Yeah, obviously Eric Mason's real name is Ethan. I've known him since he was a kid. I also know his parents pretty well, and I knew that his dad Eric had passed away. So upon his debut here, he was training, and that was my pitch to him. I was like, hey, like, in terms of names, like, I was like, what do you think about potentially using your father's name as like a tribute to your dad? And like, him and his mom both had messaged me after and was just like, that's unreal that you would do that. And so I'm proud that and happy that I gave him that name, because it does mean so much to him and his family. So it's really cool. You probably don't know the whole list of this, but who should be in the XW Hall of Fame who isn't yet?
Oh God. There's like, I'm trying to think back even from all the STLs. I honestly don't know. I almost... Is the game in it?
Yes.
Oh, fuck.
If not, if you can't think of one on the current crop of guys, who do you think's going in first?
Current crop, I'm gonna have to say at some point Blackheart.
Fair enough. What theme song that you've used or that someone's used that got you the most pumped up?
My first theme song when I was in XAWA, it's Ich tu Dewi by Rammstein. the song itself is mostly about BDSM, but the way that it was cut is that it starts off with the opening chords and the drums. It goes right into the chorus, which at the time, and the duality of the Trinity Parker character, it fit her narrative.
What do you prefer, face or heel?
I like being a face, but I seem to work better as like a shit punk heel. But I like being a face because I feel like Two Faces could have some witty repartee if given the chance.
Upon your debut in XAWA and eventually XCW, were you ever camera shy?
No. I've done theater, I've done improv, I've done recorded stuff. Hell no.
Did you have any wrestling experience prior to XCW or XAWA?
Hell no. I've had combat experience because I did martial arts, but that was about it.
Who were you trained by upon your wrestling debut?
It was a mix of different people. Blackheart trained me, Travis Schaefer, who goes by Chaos Zero or the Ogre of Chaos, trained me, and then in XCW, Chris Jones showed me a few things, you showed me a few things. I kind of had like a bunch of different people giving me pointers.
So, of course, you had the opportunity a couple years ago to be around for the reformation of Heart of the Storm and come out to the ring with them and set up your storyline that you're eventually going to run. And you've seen many teams and stables throughout XCW's history. Is there a particular one that stands out to you as your favorite?
Starstruck.
I agree. I think they're one of the, if not the best team in XCW history.
Oh, yeah.
We have a really controversial question coming up next. We're going to take a short commercial break. When we come back, we're going to get your opinion of this controversial question. We'll be right back.
Okay.
Here on XCW Freetime interview, and I'm sitting with Trinity Parker, and we're about to embark on one of two very controversial questions here. First one being, who from XCW do you personally not like? It's okay if you say me.
It's not really you.
Okay.
Like, you and I get along enough. Like, for those people who don't know, Fletch and I work a similar schedule, so he and I are usually shooting the shit. But no, it's a tie. It's Evan Phoenix. I don't know what the fuck I did to piss this guy off, but he just does not like me, and there have been times when he had said shit under his breath to me, and like, when it came to a parking lot brawl, he's like, we don't really need you. And I'm just like, well, fuck you then. And I just ended up leaving. Granted, I'm glad you had enough people, had enough cars.
That may have been a directive from me, but it wasn't necessarily to tell people who were already there to leave. It was a directive that we didn't need more cars to come after. But
and Jackson Law, he is like, sexism did exist, but it didn't become so rampant until he came to XCW. And the thing is, I would not touch him with a 10-foot pole, and he says some of the most sexist shit to me, and yet then he's like, oh, you're a fucking ugly gutter troll, and It's like...
He has no room to talk. What is, in your opinion, the best storyline to come through XCW?
Oh, that's a good question. I know it sounds like I'm showing favoritism, but I will say the last storyline that Blackheart had before he retired. It's been so many years in the making, and it definitely, by the time they got to their match at SummerMania,
it was at a fever pitch.
Yeah, you got to see Hayden Vex and Blackheart at their absolute, like, 100% best.
Who, in your opinion, has had the best rivalry in XCW?
I would almost have to say best rivalry was the second iteration of Vengeance and Corey Lee, and that also includes everyone who teamed with Corey Lee. Like,
and it's kind of like after Vengeance taken out Starstruck and then had the Allegiance matches, it was Vengeance and Violent Ending, and they went against the Corey Lee's team, had Chris Jones. What do you think was XW's best location that you've performed in? We've been a Mainstay, Baxter, we've been Cemetery. What's been your favorite?
Well, I liked the location at the Y because it had more toilets. I know that sounds like a basic, simple bitch answer, but I think a location that has more than one toilet is a blessing. Because some of the guys will blow up the one fucking bathroom that we have in Mainstay. Swear to God. And I feel bad. And some of them don't even clean up after themselves. I'm not going to say who.
We're talking to you, Venom. What kind of legacy do you think you're going to leave behind?
I honestly don't know. Like, I feel like I'm just a blip on the radar at this point.
I mean, you're the creator of Sometime Later. You were one of the very first things that we see on every edition of XW. No matter what, Summer Manias, Halloween Harvest, Glory, you're one of the very first people seen on camera. You're going to get the opportunity to host the upcoming season of Recall. I don't necessarily know if that perception is exactly fair.
Well, let me ask you this, if you don't mind me asking you a question. In your opinion, how do you see my legacy up to this point?
Well, I think, you winning the United States Championship alone speaks to what your legacy is going to be. When you can call yourself the first female in XCW to win a championship and to be in such an integral storyline with ACT or the one with DJ Wolbert, like, those things definitely bring something to the table that a lot of other, especially females, get to bring to the table. There's been, wrestlers, man or woman, that's come through XCW that hasn't been able to make an impact in the way you have, and having the opportunity to host shows, to create shows for, create content. You and I work together on the spot. You've done STL. And then, like I said, you're one of the first, all these epic shows, all these big time shows, Encounters and Summermania and all that. You're one of the very first people that everyone sees. So I think that's going to speak a lot to your legacy.
I guess when you put it in that perspective, I guess that makes sense. But then again, I'm my own worst critic. Like, I will tear the piss out of myself before anyone else gets a chance.
What about XCW? What kind of legacy do you think XCW is going to leave behind?
In my opinion, XCW is an example of what happens when you start from nothing and you build up to something. We've had indie eyes on us. We've had different companies that have had big names on us. And the fact that we have guys like Leon Lux and Merriman who are still here And these are guys who have worked the indie circuits. There are guys who are, I would hate to say it, guys who definitely could work semi-pro, and they're still here.
Yeah. There's guys like myself and Tommy and Kurt Acid and we've Richard Regal. Like Russian Assassin. We have the ability to book pretty much anyone at this point. I'll put myself out there. I've even reached out to agents to potentially book a Rhino for a future XCW show. There is opportunities for us to branch out. I don't consider XCW to be a backyard wrestling company anymore. It was in the early incarnation, of course, wrestling on porches and ground and mattresses, but it's definitely grown into something else, and it's had a huge impact on the wrestling community. And speaking of impact, how has XCW impacted your life?
Well, it's definitely had to teach me how to balance. I am almost 40 years old. I am in the middle, and I don't use this term lightly, I'm in the middle of a midlife crisis. And, just as we finished Encounter tapings, I had a heart-to-heart with Leon Lux. Because I don't know if I could do the ring announcing anymore, and I've just been so down on myself. And he's like, you gotta listen to where your heart is. And he kept hinting at something. Like he said, there's big things for you. You just don't know it yet. You just don't see it yet. And
well, if it's any consolation, even my mom, who of course attended Encounters, had absolutely nothing but positive to say about your ring announcing ability, and as well put over Blackheart's ability on the commentating table. And you guys both bring so much to the table, even outside of what you're doing. But to lose either one of you guys in those positions would be a huge hit to the roster.
Can I confide in you something? One of the people who talked to me, who was trying to keep me from just turning in that letter of resignation, was your wife. But the way that she worded it is, I want to hear you say it. And I'm like, say what? It's like, I want to hear you fucking say it. And I just said, I am needed. She's like, we can't do this without you. And if you guys know Emily, she doesn't like to talk to a lot of people. She could be cordial and she could be tolerable, but the fact that she literally said that she wanted to hear me say that shit would fall apart if I had left, that's to me, that's got to mean something.
Yeah, and there's a piece to the puzzle in everything that we do, for sure. What's the best thing to come out of XCW for you personally?
I will say some of the friendships. I'm friends with some of the Fort Wayne guys. I picked them up, and I will say it has strengthened my friendship with Blackheart. We had a really bad breakup, but after we kind of settled everything and we got back on friendly terms, like he in recent had confided in me and said that I still consider you one of my best friends. And that means a lot.
What was the inspiration for your name and character?
Trinity Parker was a name that I had used in I dabbled in fiction, but fictions that I used to write back in the day. As far as the character goes, I created a duality. In XAWA, I wanted her to be this good person who had access to resources, wealth, who could see the potential in someone and just kind of give them that little push. But at the same time, on that duality, had this darker edge. Where is she getting all these resources from? Now, obviously, that shit went out the window with XCW, and that's okay. So I'm like, okay, well, how can I keep the character but not let that whole concept die? It's like, okay, there have been talks where I still talk about, my business dealings in Fort Wayne. Before I came back as a ring announcer, Fletch was going to have me kind of like take time off, rebrand, but not in a sense where I come back as a new person. Like, I need to re-strategize. So that part at least was still there. And then when Mint Dragon came into the mix, that was just me wrestling for the first time as someone else completely. Mint Dragon and Trinity Parker were two completely different individuals. Until you came up with the concept of, well, what if you just turned into Mint Dragon?
And it actually got a lot of people behind what you were doing that. So, what do you say to those that say that wrestling is fake?
Wrestling is like theater. If you were to go and see a Shakespearean play, like Romeo and Juliet, where there's sword fighting, you're not going to see guys actually killing themselves. They're foil swords, but they hurt. You got to learn how to do the sword fighting. You got to learn how to move so you don't end up running into each other and hurting each other. I'm not going to say it's fake. It's heavily choreographed. It's no different than learning, samba or salsa or the waltz. But that shit hurts. I have a fucked up hand. I have had bruising on my back. I've had bruising on my tits. I've had soreness that does not come from anything else unless it is absolutely physical.
I'm not even going to go into the amount of injuries that I have or have had. You could put my body scale next to Mick Foley's on the back of his book, and all the things that he's done, I've done almost half of those, if not more. So, it's no different than any other sport. It's just sports with a script. Right.
And every time the people who always say it's fake, it's usually these fat, balding, middle-aged guys that could have gone pro if they hadn't have had a bum knee. So if you really think it's fake, please come. You know what? I'm not even the best wrestler on the roster, but I do some really great tie kicks, and we're also really, really good at arm bars. And the difference is, I didn't break his arm. I could. I just choose not to.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Another XCW Freetime interview in the books. Of course, I want to thank Trinity for coming on to the show today. That does it for this episode. Again, thank you for joining us. From Fletch, Trinity Parker, we will see you on the next XCW Freetime interview.
David.